Hi, I'm Ray Wong with Constellation Research. I'm here today with David Hofstadius, the Senior Vice President of Finance Operations at Hearst, and Victor Fetter, the CIO of Fortive. So let's start with some quick introductions and bios. Tell us a little bit about your role, your company, and of course, what you guys do. So I'll start with you, Victor. Go ahead.
Well, thanks, Ray. It's great to be here. I'm currently the Chief Information Officer of Fortive. Fortive is an industrial high-tech company comprised of many portfolio companies with iconic brands such as Fluke or Tektronix or even SaaS companies such as Accruent and Gordian, serving customers in many different markets and helping them optimize their workflows.
Wonderful. David, what about you? What businesses are you in? And tell us a little about your role and your company.
Sure. So David Hofstadius, Senior Vice President of Finance Operations at Hearst Communications. My role is I'm responsible for what you can think of as the transactional aspects of finance, which includes our service centers. It also includes driving productivity, efficiency, automation, innovation in the finance space. And Hearst as a company, many of you may be, when you think of Hearst, you probably think of kind of traditional media businesses. We're a very diversified media company. We have magazines, newspapers, broadcast operations. And then there's another side to Hearst that people may be a little bit less familiar with, which is really an information services type company in the health industries, transportation, financial services. So Fitch Ratings, for example, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Hearst that many people are not necessarily aware of. We also have an entertainment part where we own part of ESPN and A&E Networks as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Those are all very different business models and very, very different needs and requirements. And it's actually an interesting segue to you as well, Victor. Victor, you've got a big set of portfolios and they've got different business models and different types of businesses. As you think about those similarities and differences for the companies that are there, I mean, what kind of agility is required and what vision do you have for the organization?
As we think across our operating companies, as you described, each of them have pretty unique business needs. And the IT leaders that are supporting those businesses, every day they're trying to figure out how to best serve the customers in those distinct markets. And that requires us to be pretty agile in our approach to serving those business needs. And at the same time, trying to find a commonality across those business needs. And we're able to successfully do both with the suite of tools from Oracle. If you look at something like Oracle HCM, we span all of our portfolio companies with that singular platform. If you look at something like Oracle Supply Chain, or even in finance, we have to tailor it locally to that given company's operations. And so what we're trying to do is constantly balance that healthy tension between where can we find value and harmonization versus where do we have to provide a very tailored solution for a specific operating company. It's been great to partner with Oracle as we try to balance both of those needs and thinking through the various options as we take companies from a period of maybe legacy systems and try to modernize them into more current state platforms. And it's just been a wild ride.
So, David, on your end as well, you sound like you're doing something similar, and I'd love to know the before and after of what you had before in terms of the ERP systems that were in place before the shift to Oracle, and then a view of what it looks like now, because it sounds like you're also a conductor here as well.
Sure. So, it's interesting when you think of media and you think of digital and the disruption of digital, it obviously happened very quickly on our business side. It took a little bit longer to reach our back office and our finance operations, if you will. So our before, believe it or not, we had really not made any significant investments in finance technologies, processes, ERPs for over 20 years. We had a green screen environment, AS400, very data entry centric type of environment, and what it really had run its course. There's also not a lot of direction or mandate, so to speak, to consolidate and to harmonize, standardize across our different businesses. So fast forward, we launched a program that we called Unify to get to 2 leaps forward, if you will, in terms of modern technologies, modern processes, harmonize on the finance side where we can harmonize. We went from 15 chart of accounts to a single chart of account. We went to common processes, if you will. And it's really driven a lot of the opportunity for consolidation, harmonization, efficiencies over time.
That's pretty important, right? I mean, that helps you mitigate risk, that helps you consolidate processes, allows you to actually leverage your team to be more strategic over time. These are some very interesting things. What's it like running the business in the cloud now versus trying to find RPG coders on AS400?
For us, the key thing was we wanted product currency, and we wanted somebody else to do that work for us. So to continually get an updated environment with new capabilities, et cetera, that was really one of the first drivers. So that was, and that is a little bit different than the traditional ERP. You had an install base, and then every few years you did an upgrade, you spent a bunch of money, and it was disruptive, and became its own project. So from our perspective, what we wanted to make sure was that there was a product that was mature enough that could handle our complexity and size, and really, continue to grow with us, if you will.
Victor, on your end, do you actually agree with this cloud versus on-prem difference as well?
I do. I think the one twist I would add to it is it's really about portfolio optionality. If you look at what our companies are trying to accomplish, they have very different targets and very different needs as they make their way through the service continuum. And so sometimes it's appropriate to go full to the cloud and reap the benefits of that stream of innovation that's coming in. We have other examples that we wanted to take in our solutions and bring it to the cloud infrastructure that Oracle provides, and that allows a different set of capabilities that we may be trying to solve for. And so for me, I think as you look across some 15 different operating companies, they're not all on the same journey. They're not all on the same path. They're not on the same place of maturity. And as a result, that optionality becomes key. One thing we do see is this drive to move to the cloud. There's certain complexities that sometimes we struggle to overcome as we try to get to that journey to the cloud. But everyone, I think, sees that is the direction and probably the most appropriate platform for a business that's looking to digitally transform at scale and really get the innovation that they need in their marketplace.
I'm going to start talking about another aspect, what's been interesting, which is really about how do we innovate, right? And this is a hard thing, right? Especially in a lot of our environments. And there's an innovation dimension that's super important. David, you've been live at Hearst for some time now. You've gone through multiple quarter closes, multiple product updates, and more importantly, you've taken a lot of innovation that's Oracle's building into its offerings. But here's the question, how do you determine where you take those quarterly updates, or what features, or what's important? How do you bring those in and adopt on those?
Right. So, I'd say, we've been live for now 3 years or so. And our first quarterly update, 3 years ago, it turned into a massive project, right? We wanted to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. We had test cases, we had use cases, we had everybody lined up, and it became this big initiative. And part of it was our first real production update, and we wanted to make sure that we did everything that we could to make it smooth. If you fast forward, we're actually having our update this weekend to the latest version. I wouldn't say it's a non-event, but it starts 2 weeks prior. We run some regression tests. Prior to that, we look at what's new in the release, like what's coming. Are there features, functions, capabilities that's relevant to us and stuff that's not relevant to us? If it's stuff that's relevant to us, then we assign it to whatever functional group or process lead that applies to. They assess it, they engage users to the extent we need to, we configure it, and we become part of the test, and then we adopt it. So it's these updates really have, like I said, I wouldn't call it a non-event, because it's not a non-event. We're much better. We know what we need to do. Oracle knows what they need to do. And I don't think we've had any issues at all with these updates.
I think it's easier to go through these upgrade cycles. You're getting more robust functionality more frequently. But there are some new muscles that I think you need to build. I think one is a real focus on product management. You need to understand that roadmap. You need to understand what's coming. You need to understand what features apply to your given organization, so you can have those conversations around what are you going to turn on or not turn on, et cetera. And you need to have that good relationship with the Oracle product and support teams, because they got to stand by your side and support you in that journey of those regular updates. And so I think there's some new things that we have to build, new capabilities, new processes But at the end of the day, sitting in my chair, it's a heck of a lot easier today to get through upgrade cycles than it was, 5 and 10 years ago.
The other thing that we do is, so the stuff that we don't adopt, on a periodic basis, we go back and kind of look back and says, what didn't we pick up the first time around? And there's the stuff that now, makes sense that we should kind of turn back on, so to speak. And it's a little bit of a different model.
I'm going to toss this back to Victor real quick. You mentioned that in the past that frequent innovation is important for staying ahead. And so the question here is, how do you do that right now? Right. How do you see these technologies changing the way you guys do business and your objectives? And are there specific areas that you're getting a massive and early immediate benefit from, for example, areas like AI and ML, or from areas that, change the way you kind of look at, innovation in terms of corporate processes?
I think there's a stream of innovation that's unlike we've seen before. And in fact, I think it's process on our side is how do we take advantage of it that need to evolve maybe even faster than some of the innovation that's coming out. And so again, those are, I think, some things that we're learning our way through. I think we get very excited about the potential. I mean, you sit down with the product teams and you hear about what's coming in the roadmaps. There's a lot of things that are accretive to our business operations. When you think about AI or predictive analytics or the use of some of those capabilities, even the HR suite or in the finance suite, those are very interesting to us as a company. I think those are capabilities that are coming, but we're just not there yet, and so I think there's a lot of optimism in terms of what the roadmaps look like. We're excited. We just need to see it.
So let's talk an area where we see a lot of innovation too. That's AI and ML. How do you actually see this impacting your business and what you're trying to do? And are there some areas that you're actually getting the benefit from this AI infusion?
So I can say from my perspective, the early adoption around kind of automation tools that sit around kind of a core ERP or HR system, et cetera, is RPA, right? RPA can automate a lot of structured data tasks. And there's some limitations for that. Some of it, there's some great use cases and you can automate it very quickly. The barrier to entry is not all that high, right? It's not terribly expensive, and the skills, are resident in a lot of, whether it's IT folks or finance folks or other folks. So I think you can kind of get up that curve relatively quickly. But where you can really start, getting some value out of it is when it's not just a decision tree where somebody, there's a human element or a decision element of saying, if it's this, I think it's that, or this is what you do in certain cases. So we adopted RPA quickly. I'm not sure if experimenting, what we're piloting is probably a better word, is around chatbots. How do we have chatbots that can answer questions and deflect common finance questions? How can we achieve touchless processing where we do have human intervention in certain transactions where machine learning AI capabilities should be able to maybe not deflect 100% of it, but some portion of those transactions we can probably start automating to get humans out of that transaction flow. So I think it's like Victor said, there's so much innovation, there's so much change in the space. I think there's so many different capabilities that are coming. And from our perspective, obviously we try to stay engaged with what's happening in the market, what's happening on the Oracle product side, what's happening in product development, what are some of the features and capabilities that Oracle is rolling out where we shouldn't be focusing.
It makes a lot of sense. And then Victor, on your end, I mean, you've been an early pioneer in chatbots and AI and some of your other companies and stuff. I was going to ask how you're actually taking and looking at AI as well.
Very similar to David. I mean, we're seeing the benefits. You think about automation that's given through chatbots, or you think about account close using some matching capabilities or AI capabilities. I think the space of innovation is so robust at the moment and has so much potential. I think the hard part is to figure out what matters most. I often talk to my team about, sometimes we're kids in a candy store. Let's try this, let's try that, right? And at some point, you got to go, wait, time out. What's going to bring the most value to the company? And Ray, we've had conversations. We've engaged your organization to help us cut through the noise and just get to the point of where can we add the most value.
Let's quickly talk about the innovation aspect of getting this continuous innovation. We'll start with you, David, at Hearst. With the foundational technology infrastructure in place, right? Now you've got the efficiencies. and you've got some level of cloud maturity. So you can actually start adding more and more innovations along on a quarterly basis. What's the value in that? Are you seeing that strategic aspect as you're scaling up as you go through the cloud maturity model?
We're working with the Oracle product development team on kind of intelligence around predicting accounting information on different invoices as they come in. We're also looking with Oracle product development on something we call dynamic discounting. How do we create intelligent payment discounts where suppliers can get paid early in exchange for a discount? They don't have to take it. They can't take it. In the pandemic, we saw actually in a number of periods, all of a sudden, right, certain suppliers would love to get cash sooner, right? How do we build those capabilities into the core product and then tie it together with a supplier portal, right? So if you're a supplier to Hearst, you have one place to go and you can do a number of different things, not just from a self-service perspective, but you have other capabilities that are more sophisticated, I would call, that's driving savings on our side, not just from self-service, but also from this intelligent payment processing. So I think it's the luxury that we have, right? I don't worry about patching our environment. I don't worry about a lot of the things in terms of just running, which allows me and my team to think about these other things, right? Clearly there's activities, we have a lot of integrations in and out. There's constant, to keep things running, but there's a portion that we don't necessarily worry about and that Oracle is dealing with for us, which allows us then to focus on these other things and look at capabilities that we should build out and automate.
I think clients get the benefit of crowdsourced ideation. Like David was just describing how to get to touchless invoicing. In some ways I go, I don't have to worry about that because David's going to solve that problem and I'm going to reap the benefit of it in the platform. And at the same time, my team is thinking about next generation talent and how to better position talent. And at some point, David's probably going to benefit from how to take advantage of whatever tools and capabilities come out of that endeavor. And so you're seeing, I think, the benefit of organizations sharing ideas of efficiency and speed and innovation. And I no longer have to wait to the annual release or the two-year release or whatever that is, because if a good partnership with the product development teams is also an important part of the equation. And when you have that in place, you then are creating a cycle of change that is really unmatched from what we've seen previously.
Oh, this is great. I mean, you guys are sharing some great lessons learned on innovation, on what people need to do around change management. It sounds like you're all taking advantage, of that innovation cycle that's out there, and working very closely with Oracle in terms of their product management and the product roadmap, which is something that is very important, especially when you're early in the game here. So I'm going to ask a few questions. These are lightning round questions. The first one is really, what advice would you have for organizations that are looking to move to the cloud? The second one is your favorite feature in the Oracle Cloud. I'll start with you, David. What would you have organizations, and what would you tell organizations the advice that they'd be as they're looking to move to the cloud?
What people tend to be skeptical about is the cloud mature enough for our business? And I would say the answer is yes. I mean, it's not. It's been out there. The applications are mature. Don't be afraid to adopt them.
So they're mature. They're hardened. You can go there. Victor, your end.
I think what I would say, working with a good partner is key, because that will help define your success. Having a close relationship with your CFO, because the economics are different, and trying to make the case for that transition could prove to be difficult. So a good partner with your CFO is critical.
All right. What's your favorite feature in the Oracle Cloud, Victor?
Just the pace of change, the innovation cycles.
You like the speed, the pace of change?
David, I'm going to call in my favorite athlete, Tom Brady. Everybody says, "What's your favorite ring?" It's the next one. My favorite feature is the next one.
Woohoo, I love this innovation cycle. Well, hey, thank you, David, Victor, for sharing your insights. I think I've learned a lot about where we are in cloud and what people are doing with it. More importantly, thinking about the changing business environment, the agility required, the innovation dimension that's been out here, and more importantly, what you have to do to make change happen, especially in these fast and rapid cycles. Really appreciate your insights. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.